right. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Joe. I am the executive director here at Inklings Coffee and Tea. Excited to be with Linda from Compassion Tea. We are not only partners in getting beverages from them, different teas, and they supply all of our teas here at Inklings, but we are partners in their cause, and they do some incredible work around the world, and we are so grateful just to play a small part in what they are doing globally. So we wanted to take some time today to get to know Linda and also get to know what Compassion Tea does all over the world and how you as our customers play a huge part in providing what is needed in the work that they do all over the world. So Linda, Inkling serves Compassion Tea. What is Compassion Tea Company?
Compassion Tea Company is a group of people who got together in 2011 and wanted to do more for an organization called CompassioNow. Our founders were all board members of CompassioNow, and the goal of Compassion Tea has been to become a fundraising branch for CompassionNow. We love tea, we love Christ, and we want to share his love and his healing to people in rural parts of Africa. So we partner with CompassionNow. We give 100% of our after-tax profits to CompassionNow, and then they use those funds to provide medicine, medical supplies, staff salaries for Indigenous peoples, training opportunities, transportation for sick patients, that kind of thing, in rural parts of Africa. We work with clinics in South Africa, Tanzania, Uganda, Zambia, Malawi, Rwanda, 2 in Rwanda, and then we just added South Sudan this past year.
Wow, that's great. You know, under normal circumstances, what are some of the challenges that you guys face in Africa?
Well, I think the biggest issue in Africa is that while urban areas get a lot of government funding for healthcare, the rural parts of Africa do not. So you have people in rural areas who would have to walk a couple of days actually to get to a hospital or even a doctor. So they rely on witch doctors or sort of tribal remedies and things like that. There isn't much knowledge amongst those peoples as to how to treat a common cold or a broken bone or the more aggressive diseases such as malaria, AIDS, tuberculosis. And those are pretty common diseases that you see in Africa. We here in the United States know that they're extraordinarily treatable. They're not comfortable, but they are treatable. And we can often greatly improve the standard of living for people through those treatments. But in Africa, you don't have that. I'll give you an anecdotal story to just kind of give you a sense for what people in Africa, in these rural parts, are up against. There was a young boy in Zambia. His name is Waddington. And several years ago, he broke a bone, just fell off his bike or something like that and broke a leg bone, and nobody in his village knew how to set it. So the bone started to mend in a bad way, and infections started to set in. He was actually becoming very ill from sepsis and from the fact that this bone wasn't going to set properly. One of our medical groups, Mission Medic Air in Zambia, happened to fly into his village to do a couple of day clinic there in the bush, and they saw how ill he was. So they life flighted him out to a hospital where he was given the treatment that he needed for the infection, and then also had his leg reset. And Waddington has met with Ed and Wendy Berstrom, who founded Compassion Now and who are leading Compassion Tea as well, shortly thereafter, and was just so excited about the fact that his life had been saved. Had the bone not been set, but the infection had been cured, he still would have been sort of outcast from his society because he wouldn't have been able to be a contributing member to the society.
Right.
And that being outcast causes its own issues as well, right? So he just graduated from high school. He's on his way to college there in Zambia, and he at one point wanted to be a doctor. I think he's now getting into business or law or something like along those lines, because it's a little harder to get your doctorate degree. But
Yeah. Wow,
but,
that's
a
powerful.
broken bone is something
Yeah.
that is no big deal in
Right.
some respects.
Right. Wow, what a powerful story. Wow, that's so good. We're in these sort of crazy times around the world right now. What are some of the challenges that you guys are seeing as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic that we are all in right now?
Definitely, we're seeing some issues over there. Like the United States, African countries are in lockdown. They want, as well, the governments want also to slow the spread, keep things as minimal as possible. The problem is that so many of the rural peoples live hand to mouth from a day-to-day basis. They go out, they do a day's work, they use that money to buy their food for the day, if they can get work, if they can find food. When you lock down a government and you close businesses, there is no work. Therefore, there is no money to buy food. And so, on top of the concern about the disease itself or the illness itself, you have the factor of starvation. And once you add starvation into the mix, the lethality of any illness is going to be greater, because our bodies just, once they're in that starvation stage, they can't handle immune issues. So what we're seeing our clinics do, they're doing a lot of great work over there. They are providing sanitation kits. That's another issue. A lot of places don't have running water. They don't have electricity. They don't have refrigeration to store food for long periods of time. And so our clinics are doing things like putting together sanitation kits, hand sanitizer, and soap, a month's supply of that. They are mobilizing to get food out to as many people as possible, knowing that these are people who aren't going to have food while the government is in lockdown. Village of Hope, for example, in Uganda, is an orphanage. We support, they have 2 different villages, and each village has its own clinic. They were forced by the government to send all of the kids back to their guardians or family members, whomever has taken them in to be their guardian. And during this time, they're not getting their schooling. They're not under the protective umbrella, shall we say, of Village of Hope. So Village of Hope is reaching out to these families. They're providing them soap and hand sanitizer, and then food, and they're also providing school supplies to the kids so that they can try to keep up with their studies as much as possible while they're with their guardians.
Wow. There's so much work to be done, and you guys are doing so much, and so much a part of being on the front lines. At Inklings, we serve a very generous community, and we've seen that over this shelter-in-place order. People have given so much. And as you're talking, I'm just in the back of my mind, I'm like, hey, I'm in. How can I help? So what can people do, our customers here at Inklings, and just people in the U.S. in general, what can we do to help?
That's a great question, Joe, and I appreciate it very much. I have to say, Inklings is one of our first and best customers. You guys are awesome. We've enjoyed our partnership with you for many, many years, and even before you were a big storefront. So
Right.
thank you for that. What can you do to help? You can go to CompassionNow.org and make a donation. That money will go directly to Africa to help with any of the initiatives we have going on right now. We're working on, well, we've sent money already to South Africa to buy a sanitation tunnel for 1,000 Hills Clinic there. Rwanda Children and Passion Center for Children. Rwanda's Children is in Rwanda and Passion Center is in Malawi. They're both working really hard right now to make sure that their people groups are getting fed and they're getting the medical care that they need. You know, Malawi is one of the poorest nations in the world. Only 11% of the population has electricity. Currently, they have 7 ventilators for the entire country and something like 25 ICU hospital beds for the entire country. So if this COVID-19 sets in, they're going to have some major issues. So yeah, going to CompassionNow.org to make a donation would be huge. The other thing you can do is drink more tea. Yeah. We've got lots of great tea. You can head over to Inklings, and you guys are doing takeout orders, right? And
Yep.
so you can order some tea from Inklings. If you want to have tea at home, you can go to our partner, hopecoffee.com. They sell tea in individual packages for individual consumers. So hopecoffee.com is another way you can get some great tea from Compassion Tea.
Well, that's great. Linda, thank you so much for taking some time out of the day to tell us about Compassion Tea. I think there's a few customers out there who know about you guys, but it's just so good to expound on what you guys are doing and the reach that you have. And it's just so cool how we get to just play a part in that. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate the opportunity. Share tea, save lives.